You have the evidence to show that this was a false election and that these women were responsible for altering the election results in Georgia. If you had the goods on that, that was an absolute defense to what is now a $148 million judgment.
Obviously, possibly we'll move for a new trial. Certainly will appeal. The absurdity of the...
In all honesty, that's the dumbest haircut I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what that is.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I am Bruce Rivers, your very own, your very personal, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, here to give you commentary, here to tell you about the news of the day and break down cases in a way that nobody else will. Why is that? Because I am so blessed to have behind the camera, behind every idea, the content genius you know as Michael Rivers, my son. This is a father-son project, and today we're talking about Rudy Giuliani and his woes. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by eSign.com. eSign.com is a very effective way to remotely do business. Let's say you're a former disgraced mayor of New York City and you are in a hurt bag because now you got to file bankruptcy because you have so many irons in the fire and you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Well, what do? You go get a bankruptcy lawyer, and you can't get out of your house because you're going to get attacked by the public. So you have to stay in, or your lawyer someplace else. And so you go to eSign.com. You download the app. You get 3 free signatures a month. And when you do that, you can sign any document remotely. I use it all the time in my practice. eSign.com, very effective way to remotely do business. Because if it's not eSign, no one signs. Okay. Now, before we get to Giuliani, let me just say thank you to Amy. I don't even know who Amy is, but I got a coffee cup in the mail today from Amy wishing us a Merry Christmas. It says we can't fix stupid, but we can give it a court date. I love it. Okay, Rudy Giuliani was sued by Wandrea Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman. Now, let's just talk about who those people were. These were election workers in Georgia. And the allegation that Giuliani spewed over and over and over and over again, Giuliani falsely claimed that the mother and daughter had filled suitcases with illegal ballots and brought them to the State Farm Arena in Atlanta to illegally influence the election outcome. He also claimed that they were passing USB devices like vials of heroin and cocaine. Let's kind of watch his little press conference. He's lost his trial. He's lost the damages part of his case to the tune of $148 million. Now, in a sense, who gives a shit? Because he's never going to pay it. They'll never see a dime of that money. But they have other people that they're suing, and I think they should sit up and take notice. But let's take a look at what Giuliani had to say.
Possibly we'll move for a new trial. Certainly will appeal. The absurdity of the number merely underscores the absurdity of the entire proceeding, where I've not been allowed to offer one single piece of evidence.
All right, let's talk about him not being able to offer one single piece of evidence. Well, Judge Burl Howell, she wrote in a scathing opinion that his refusal to comply with court orders and comply with discovery has made the case's discovery process a murky mess, and she ordered him to pay not only over $100,000 in attorney's fees, but she also ordered in that case default judgment, basically, because he's not complying with discovery. You have to comply with discovery in an effort to prosecute your case. And let's top this off. He also, just so you know, he stipulated that the statements that he said were false. He stipulated to that. So let's play it. We'll dissect this a little bit more.
In defense, of which I have a lot. So I am quite confident when this case gets before a fair tribunal, it'll be reversed so quickly it'll make your head spin, and the absurd number that just came in will help that, actually.
He is right about one thing. The number is huge. It is possible that award could be reduced. But the liability portion of it, he's already stipulated to the liability portion of it. He's already stipulated that what he said was false. So it just became a case about damages. Now,
you're America's mayor. Why are you willing to risk it all for Donald Trump?
I'm a man of principle. I've always been a man of principle. This is a fight of principle. I understand that I could have done a lot of things to make this go away. The reason I didn't make it go away is for the American people.
The reason I didn't make this go away is for the American people. Who fucking believes that? Nobody believes that. You know, he's got like 2 million followers on Twitter. He's got like 2 million followers on Twitter, and that's where he's making his money right now. He lost his license. He lost his law license. This is a guy that practiced law for 50 years. You don't know how to follow fucking discovery rules? You know, if you had the goods, first of all, truth is a defense in this case. Truth is a defense to any defamation case. So he was so reckless. And here's the other thing. There was a state investigation in Georgia. And the state investigation found that the women were legally and properly processing ballots. Lawyers for the women alleged that the claims were part of a conspiracy that involved Trump, his legal team, and the right-wing media outlet to help Trump sow doubt about the elections and reverse his defeat. That's what the whole thing was about. This was helping Trump. There's also other defendants that are coming forward. These women were, they had death threats. They had their reputations were dragged through the mud, and they had a trial in a D.C. court. It was a federal trial, but it was only about damages. You know, when you sit there and listen to the things that Giuliani is saying, they're patently false. If, for example, you had the goods, like you claim you have the goods, you have the evidence to show that this was a false election and that these women were responsible for altering the election results in Georgia. If you had the goods on that, that was an absolute defense to what is now a $148 million judgment. And you just choose not to? Why is that? Is that just because you're just lazy or you're stupid or because you're just all full of shit and you really didn't have the goods? So, I mean, he laid down. So when he talks about this is going to get appealed, guess what happens if you want to appeal and stay the judgment? Because that's what you have to do. You got to put up a bond. You got to put up a bond for $148 million. That means if you go to appeal and lose the appeal, that the plaintiffs are taken care of. That means that that money is sitting there. Who's going to give him a $148 million line of credit to post a bond? Nobody. And Giuliani is broke. He's just absolutely stone cold broke. He's making his money off of Twitter. He's probably doing okay on Twitter, and I'm sure he's got a pension. But if he wants to stay this judgment pending appeal, he has to put up a bond, which nobody would give him that kind of credit. And so now keep in mind, Giuliani is also charged in the RICO case in Georgia. And so my guess is one of the reasons why he stipulated that what he said was false in that prior case, or in this defamation case, was because he didn't want to testify. He didn't want to have to answer to this real question because whatever he says in this hearing or in this trial in D.C. could be used against him. You know, just like Trump, Trump had his fraud trial in New York, right? And, a big anticipation. Is he going to testify? Is he not going to testify? Last minute, he doesn't testify, which was the smartest thing for him to do, honestly. Well, Rudy Giuliani did the same thing. He didn't even testify in his own defense at all, and he could have. He absolutely could have. But anything he would have said would have been used against him in the Georgia case. That's why he didn't testify. So, but when you don't testify or you stipulate that something's false or whatever, those inferences can be drawn against you hard, or if you take the Fifth Amendment in a civil case, that inference can be taken against you hard. In other words, you can draw an adverse inference. In other words, so if you are saying, that you won't testify because something will incriminate you, then we can assume that everything you say is going to be negative against you. In other words, we can assume the worst.
We do want to go back out to Washington right here where we do see Rudy Giuliani.
And you look at him, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the Penguin from the Batman series.
Just after getting the news there that he must pay $148 million, he is coming to the camera here. Let's listen, of course, for you on Live Now from Fox.
There's very little I could say.
Now, look at this guy to his left with the skinny tie. I'm just saying that's not a good look. I don't know what that hair I mean, I don't know what that is.
Right now, I have to analyze this.
Look at the top of his head. I mean, what the hell is that? But, you know, and here's the other thing that Giuliani is doing here by making more public statements. He's saying, he's doubling down, saying everything I said was true. And we just didn't get the opportunity, you know, with this unfair court to present our case. Well, I told you why he didn't present his case, because the judge sanctioned him for not complying with discovery rules. And in federal court, they'll slap you down just as soon as look at you. So it's like $132,000 he was ordered to pay in attorney's fees. So, I mean, he had the opportunity to present a defense. But by going out and keep in mind, he stipulated that what he said was false. And a stipulation is a fact. So it's if you stipulate to something in court, the fact finder assumes that that fact is proven. So that fact is, so the fact that he said, I stipulate that what I said was false, is a proven fact in that matter. Can they use that in the civil or the criminal trial? Absolutely they can. He's going to say that it was just for the purposes of this. But if he gets up and testifies, guess what? That stipulation will be shoved up his ass so fucking hard it's unbelievable.
Obviously, possibly we'll move for a new trial. Certainly we'll appeal. The absurdity of the
In all honesty, that's the dumbest haircut I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what that is.
number merely underscores the absurdity of the entire proceeding, where I've not been allowed to offer one single piece of evidence in defense.
And that is such bullshit. That is just such bullshit, because had he complied with discovery, had he given the other side, okay, here's my defense, here's how I know that these two women were stuffing ballots and bringing them to a State Farm arena and passing USB devices. You know, when they asked what they were passing, you know, the daughter says to, you know, when she was testifying, she said it was a ginger mint. These lies just, and it's for public consumption. That's it. That's it. So he can stay in the news. Anytime he can get in front of a camera, he will.
Of which I have a lot. So I am quite confident when this case gets before a fair tribunal, it'll be reversed so quickly that it'll make your head spin. And the absurd number that just came in will help that, actually.
So that part is probably true in the sense that a court could look at the damage award and lower it. And let's look at what the damages are. You got $75 million for for punitive damages. That's a totally random number, and that could get reduced, and probably will. The $20 million apiece for emotional distress, and the other damage amounts that they have, those are compensatory damages and probably won't get reduced. Regardless, it's all academic anyway, because you think he's going to pay $1 of this? No. But if he's making money off of Twitter and TikTok and whatever else, Cameo with George Santos, if he's making money off of those platforms, they'll chip away at that, and they can start, you know, doing garnishments against his earnings. All right, let's just back this up just a little bit. Now let's take a look at Mr. Hare's eyes. I don't get this.
It'll be reversed so quickly that it'll make your head spin. And the absurd number that just came in will help that, actually.
Did you see his eyes when he talks about the absurd number? So I'm fresh back from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And what did I do in Jackson Hole, Wyoming? I skied my ass off. And what did I ski with? I ski with my step ones. And guess what? These high-performance underwear, they're made from a viscose fabric that's derived from organic bamboo. You've got Lycra panels that avoid any kind of chafing or sweating. So here's the thing. Now, it's getting close to Christmas time, and you can still get these. And I suggest, ladies, that you order some of these for your man. Step one are the most comfortable, no chafe, no sweat underwear, and you just can't believe how comfortable they are. So if you order some right now, you put the Bruce Rivers in the link below as you're checking out, you get a 25% discount. And guys, you're going to want these. And it's a risk-free proposition for you because within 30 days, if you don't like them, you get your money back. But that's how confident they are in their product. So, step one.
Why do you think it was unfair? You say it was an unfair tribunal. Why do you think it was unfair?
We gotta go, sir. Let's go. I cannot go into the details. I didn't testify because the judge made it clear that if I made any mistake or did anything wrong, she was considering contempt. And this judge does have a reputation for putting people in jail. And I thought, honestly, it wouldn't do any good.
Do you still believe that what you said about these two women in the wake of the 2020 election was truthful?
Do you still believe these claims?
Do you still believe those comments that you made?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that my comments were made.
This guy's got hair. Why doesn't he fucking grow his hair out? I just don't understand that. But get him away from there because at this moment is a critical moment because if he says, yeah, and he spews the same bullshit, he can open himself up to sanctions with the court and also to another lawsuit, honestly.
And they were supportable and are supportable today.
Still.
I just did not have an opportunity to present the evidence that we offered.
An opportunity. That's bullshit. That is 100% bullshit. That's what court is for. You have a side. I have a side. Let's go to fucking town. That's what it's for. You weren't able to present your case. Number one, I don't think you had a case. But you weren't able to present it because you wouldn't comply with the discovery rules. Well, guess what happens when you don't come? You're a fucking big boy lawyer. You have big boy pants on. And when you don't do the big boy things that you do in big boy court, guess what? You get your big boy ass slapped by the judge. And that's what happened in this case. That's exactly what happened in this case. So he sits there and is crying foul. But if we remember way back when, Judge Burl Howard, is it Burl Howard? Yeah. Judge Burl Howard slapped his ass silly because he wouldn't comply with discovery. And that's what happens. He wouldn't turn over financial documents, wouldn't turn over this, wouldn't turn over that. And, you know, and he got chance after chance after chance. He was admonished by the judge. So it's either sloppy or lazy or just no lawyering. So they didn't present any witnesses. And basically they just did a closing argument saying, you know, he's got years of service and he's just a nice guy and you really shouldn't judge him too harshly.
Did you notice we were not allowed to put in one piece of evidence in defense? Do you also realize that...
Why? Because do you realize that you didn't put up any defense and you didn't participate in discovery like you're supposed to? It's not a little thing to not participate in discovery.
Liability is not based on any trial. Liability is based on her disagreement with me on discovery, which is absurd.
Why didn't you take the stand?
Because I believe the judge was threatening me with the strong possibility that I'd be held in contempt or that I'd even be put...
Here's the thing. Once you stipulate, if you stipulate to a certain fact, and then all of a sudden you try to get up and say that that fact didn't exist, you can't do that. That would be committing perjury. Because either you lied in the stipulation or you're lying on the stand. You can't have it both ways.
Jail. So it didn't seem like it was going to do much to persuade anybody, and it could give her what she seemed to be threatening.
Did you believe the women's testimony?
Do you have any regrets?
That's all I have to say. I have
any regrets about some of the comments that the women received?
We got to get going. We do need to get going.
Do you have any regrets about some of the comments that the women received?
Well, of course, the comments they received I had nothing to do with. Those comments are...
Yes, you did. You had everything to do with them. You pushed the ball down the fucking hill. You know, I just love this. When you have a big platform and you have a big megaphone, you have a big responsibility to be either accurate with your words or to not do other people harm. And because of what he said, along with others, because of what they said, these women, these innocent women who are only doing election work. You know, these weren't evil people. You know, and I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of comments from dickheads saying, you know, whatever. But I don't really care because these women, they're hapless, you know, just volunteers. You know, just being election workers. You know, we used to have a situation in our country where we trusted our elections, where we trusted the voting process. I don't remember before Donald Trump any real question about our election process. Maybe Bush v. Gore, you know, but even then, what did Gore do? For the good of the country, he stepped aside and took the decisions of the courts and whatever. Okay, let's move on. This is a natural result of Giuliani's malicious and careless pandering to Donald Trump. And if you look at everybody who's followed Trump, they all are falling by the wayside. You got 4 pleas in that Georgia election fraud case or election interference case. You know, pleas of guilty. And so Sidney Powell, she has vowed to cooperate against anybody else. Same with Chesborough and same with whatever that gal's name is. So you got 4 people who have vowed to testify against whoever is going to trial in that case. So one of the things that this Burl Howard said, you know, he talks about not getting an opportunity. She sees that despite repeated orders and opportunities from the court, and despite his 50 years of experience as an attorney, Giuliani dragged his feet in turning over documents, including financial records from 2 of his companies, Giuliani Communications and Giuliani Partners. The 2 plaintiffs, Freeman and Moss, had requested those records to determine whether Giuliani profited from the false claims he spread about them. And that was really part and parcel of the whole thing. The lies about election fraud garnered support, garnered a base. And the more you say it, the more people he gathered around for his support. And he's making money off of that. That's one of the main reasons why he was basically forced into a position where he stipulated that what he said was false. So he himself put up no defense. So what does this verdict mean? What does this $148 million verdict mean? Well, if you remember, Dominion sued Fox, and they settled on $760 million or something like that. Settled. You know, they were in trial, and they settled for almost $1 billion. You know, I think what it means going forward, and there's other people in the wake. You know, there's Moss and Freeman have sued other folks. The Gateway Pundit, and they just filed that on Thursday. Anybody who's watching this, verdict, who might be a defendant, has got to take notice, because I don't think Trump's won a single lawsuit in any of this stuff. You know, they had 62 cases, roughly, challenging the election and didn't win a single one of them. Maybe one. They had some, but nothing to overturn the election in all. So we'll keep watching. You know, now Giuliani's pled not guilty in the Georgia criminal case, in the RICO case. But can they use his stipulation that what he said was false as one of the overt acts? Absolutely, I think they can. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers with our content genius, Michael Rivers. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and sign up for Patreon. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God.